You were here a couple years ago. You were just starting your career as a teacher. So tell us what you've learned. What has your experience been at Columbia Law School, sitting on the other side of the classroom from where you did your schooling?
One of the things that is most remarkable to me is how fast the students learn and pick things up. So my course that I teach, which the bulk of it's legal writing. We do other stuff. We dress it up with some more fun activities. The heart and soul of the class is about legal writing. It starts in late August, runs until middle of November. They do 2 memos for me in that time period. In each memo, they do an outline, I get feedback. They do a draft, I get feedback. They do a second draft, I get feedback. From that first draft they hand in, which is almost always horrible. It's just bad. It's their first time trying legal writing. I don't blame them. It's awful. It doesn't look good. To the final draft of their second memo, just a couple months later, they improve by leaps and bounds. And it's really remarkable to me how just getting feedback a couple of times, just being modeling for them like, no, don't do this, do it like this, can just transform them from bad legal writers to fully capable in just a handful of months. And it really is impressive what a learnable skill it is for them. It's a testament to their ability, and also just to, we mystify a lot of this stuff, like being a lawyer, legal writing, good legal skills. But for, an intelligent person that's really committed and willing to work hard, they're very learnable and achievable skills in a short period of time.
They must have a great teacher.
Must be. That's got to be it.
Have you seen in your students any attributes or skill sets where you're like, that one is going to make a great attorney?
Obviously, just like your willingness to work hard is, that's transferable to any industry, any skill. I think that what a lot of people fail to understand is how technical legal work can be. I think a lot of, say, like English majors, history majors, political science majors like myself are drawn to the law for one reason or another. But a lot of the most successful students I have are ones with more technical backgrounds. Maybe they took high-level calculus in college, or they've been working in a scientific industry before coming to law school. Because, is law and art or science? Probably a little bit of both, but being able to break things down to a molecular level and do your legal writing and on a sentence-by-sentence basis, am I following the formula? Am I ticking the boxes? Am I analyzing this in the right way? I think it's very underrated how technical legal skills can be, in addition to all the other stuff.
Yeah, and I think at the highest level, those lawyers who do have technical training behind them, especially for us in the medical field, where they were a doctor or a nurse before, it's very difficult to compete with those people. I'm thinking obviously of Brett.
I was going to say that.
And there's that aspect to the cases that we're working on that we've picked up a whole bunch of the medicine on it along the way, but it's hard to really compete with those
especially
people.
For mass tort cases where there is a lot of medical discovery and just intricate things that you have to know what they mean.
Sure. Lawyers are always looking at other lawyers. I don't know if it's insecurity or whatever it is, but everybody's measuring each other. Plus, eventually you have to go up against these people, and you're always measuring the other side. To me, the young lawyers that I'm impressed by are the ones that they have this determination to win and a determination and a confidence, but not the arrogance. And it's a really fine line where you're you won't take what the other guy says as fact, but you're humble enough to listen. And you see those people, to me, they jump out pretty quickly. And I don't know if it's when they're in law school or the first few years of practice, but you can see them. You can see the young guys and you're like, okay, he'll be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Young woman too, sorry.
Yeah.
The best lawyers I know are women.
Absolutely. I think confident but not cocky is a really important skill in a developing lawyer. And that pervades so many, to do a trial, I think you need confidence. But even before we even get to trial, because so much of our practice isn't about trial. It's in the air of trial, but it's not about trial all the time. Be it just at a hearing, crossing a cop. If you're not confident, that officer, that witness is going to rule over you, and it's just not going to go well. Even in things like your ability to articulate law, either at an oral argument, in legal writing, having a degree of confidence is really important. One thing I've found is that when someone's lacking confidence, either in their oral argument skills and their legal writing skills, they tend to do too much. So one thing I find myself writing a lot in feedback I'm giving to my students is, instead of explaining the law, you're summarizing cases, and that's bad. You're quoting too much, you're doing things like that. One of the bread and butter skills someone has as a lawyer is your ability to, here's the 5 cases on this subject, let me distill that down into my own words and communicate it to someone. What you don't want, what's bad is, in this case, the court found this. In this case, the court found, that's giving a summary. That's summarizing cases. That's writing a treatise. That's something that anyone could do without a particularly high level.
When you're leaving it to the judge or the other attorney to try to make up their own mind instead of making your own argument, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think confidence is a big part of that. It's who am I as a first-year law student, as a first-year lawyer, to take what the Supreme Court of New York State said and synthesize it into my own words, to draw my own inferences. But that's what we're paying you to do. You're a lawyer. We want you drawing those inferences. We want you using your brain to connect the dots and say, this is what these cases mean. This is the law. Because if you're not doing it, your opposing side's going to do it. If, Bob and I are opposing sides and I get up there and say, well, here's what these 3 cases said, and this is what the courts have held, and then Bob says, okay, the law is this, the judge is going to believe Bob, not Nick.
If you could tell a first-year law student one thing, they walk into your class, you do this one thing. I can't tell you anything else. What do you tell them?
So I guess I'll just speak to their law school experience, which is use law school to actually study the law in ways that are interesting to you. I think there's so much pressure nowadays to take classes that everyone takes. So corporations is a big one. Everyone should take corporations, even if you're never going to practice corporate law. Everyone should take evidence, even if you're never going to be in a trial. And I'm not saying to pigeonhole yourself. I never took corporations. Maybe I should have, but I'm not saying don't take corporations. It's stupid. I'm saying you're paying a lot of money for this experience in law school. And it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be 3 whole years of your life. You're doing a big disservice to yourself if you don't use that time to explore areas of the law, study things that are interesting to you. I think one instinct a lot of people have is, I'm going to take all the easiest classes because I want the highest grades. I think that's a horrible approach to law school. My students were recently deciding their second semester of 1L, they get to pick an elective. And, they're thinking about what's the easiest one? Which one has the highest number of LLM foreign students? Because that'll be the easier class on the curve. I was that's, here are, in my opinion, the 3 most interesting classes. Take labor law, learn something about unions. There's a class that they could take on nonprofit law, and it covers how nonprofits are taxed, regulated, things like that. I was in New York City, if you're not working for a corporate law firm, you're probably working for a nonprofit. Learn something about how they work. One of the most interesting classes I took in law school was called Children in the Law. I don't work with children. I don't know anything about it, but I learned a lot about a niche area of the law that otherwise I would know nothing about. And I think that's a great way to use your law school experience. Certainly take the classes that you're going to need in order to succeed in your profession. If you're going to go into criminal law, take criminal procedure. But you're going to have other opportunities too to take other things. Fill them with stuff that interests you.
So don't be afraid to explore.
Absolutely. Yeah. I also think it's important on that note to stay curious in the law. I think especially early in my career, it was very easy for me to get so pigeonholed into criminal law where I was not learning about anything else. One of the best things about my job is I'm reading 2 memos and 1 appellate brief a year at law school on various topics, and I'm learning about just other interesting areas of the law. It's one of the reasons I love listening to your podcast here, because you talk about different cases you're working on, impact litigation, things like that your Ozempic case. I know nothing about the pharmaceutical industry and the way that relates to law. That's a way for me just to stay up to date, here's some different legal issues that are popping up around, because the legal field, it's a profession. It's something that you're really dedicating a substantial amount of time to, and who knows what you're going to be doing in 5-10 years. And I think it's really important to just keep on finding small ways without a huge commitment on yourself to keep learning about different areas of the law that otherwise you're not interacting with, because it's so easy to get pigeonholed.
So if you weren't practicing criminal law, Nick, what would you be doing? And I want 2 answers, one in the law and one not in the law.
Oh geez. I've always said that if I wasn't practicing criminal law, the sort of closest analogy is family law, defending parents in custody and removal proceedings. So this is someone makes an allegation against you that you've mistreated, abused or neglected your children, and those people need lawyers to defend them, because I think we've created an apparatus that it's very easy for people to have their children removed from them, especially if they're poor, not well off, minorities, etc. I've always thought that would be very interesting. That's probably the field that would be easiest for me to imagine myself sliding into, though I am more interested.
We're recruiting you for mass torts.
Right.
So the big corporations are
Let me do the
hurting the
sales
most
pitch.
people, especially the poor, the underprivileged, and marketing to them, and they would be happy to take their money.
Well, certainly, like, when I left law school, you know, I interned at the Federal Defenders. That's like a very like heady sort of almost appellate level work. Law school is like a long drag of like research and reading all the time. And I left law school saying like I really want to like be in the courtrooms, be in the trial rooms, work with the clients. And now, like, you know, a lot of that hustle feels exhausting to me. And like sometimes I wish I could just like go into an office and write like the most beautiful, well thought out academic motion ever and spend a few days doing that. I don't know what that would look like. I don't want to say like appellate defender work, because that's like a cop out to what if you weren't doing criminal law, but something where I could use my brain in a more advanced and creative way.
I was a prosecutor and a criminal defense lawyer for a long time, and really hustled my butt off for a long time. And I can tell you, we've really enjoyed the mass tort stuff. So it's a group of 10 lawyers. It's a very few places in the law where you can work as a true team. And we have calls every week, and that's been really a completely different experience for me. And I think that's super enjoyable.
And you're helping people on such, I think, like a deeper level, because you're going after these corporations who are trying to make a profit off of and don't care about people's health or well-being. And then just switch it around and then resell it again.
They're really big too, and they have really good lawyers, and they like fight you for a long time.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, money talks. Like that's the only thing they hear. So you have to sue them in order for them a difference to be made.
Are you submitting your application?
Not yet.
Okay.
In terms of if I were to leave the law, I don't know. Like the number one thing that draws me to like trial level work is like storytelling. I love writing. I'm a huge like TV junkie. Like I'm always watching television, different scripted, unscripted shows.
Like Survivor?
I watch Survivor. I have a podcast about Survivor. But I also like my true heart is for like prestige TV dramas. I read a lot. I recently spent 3 years reading the Wheel of Time series because it's 15 books and they're very, very long. I love stories. I love fiction, and I would love if there was a way I could work in like the fiction space, be it like author, reviewing other work. I don't know, but that, when I get to leave the law and don't have to worry about money as much, that would be my calling.
Wonderful chat with Nick, New York City lawyer, professor, union representative. I can't wait to hear what he's doing the next time he comes back in. The list continues to grow, but always a pleasure, Nick. Thanks so much.